One tingly spring day, Edward and Rocky were idling at Edward Station when James came in with a passenger train. The platform was full of cheerful people. One particular man with red hair noticed Edward and Rocky nearby. Carefully, he left the platform and approached them.
Hello. Can we help you, sir?
Excuse me. I'm Joey Turner. I'm part of an enthusiast train and noticed you two. Before you ask, I did ask permission from the staff if I could come here.
Oh, that's good to know. It would be quite foolish for you to go through railway property without supervision.
So what brings you here?
I wanted to ask you two something. I recently saw an episode of that TV show about how you two met, and I wanted to know, was any of that true?
Well, it's not exactly how it happened.
What do you mean?
Well, you see, the story of how Rocky and I met on television is 100% false. Let's just say some people from an old television program came to us. They asked about what our lives were like after the events in The Thin Clergyman and His Son's books. When they were interviewing James, apparently he thought it would be more exciting to have me of all engines acting rude to a newcomer.
The old engine, crane, and human looked at James, who was still at the station due to a red signal.
Well, I thought at the time it would be a fun experiment, you know, to see if anyone noticed if you were acting so, Edward-like.
Well then, can you tell me exactly what really happened?
Oh, go on, Edward. You're better at telling stories than I am.
Very well then.
And this is the true story Edward told. The breakdown train was long overdue for a maintenance check, and so it would be at the works for a few days. Unfortunately, that didn't stop accidents on Sodor from popping up every now and again. Harvey was left to clean up the messes, but even he could only do so much on his own. As a result, Sir Topham Hatt had ordered a new breakdown crane to help with the literal heavy lifting. He sent Edward to collect the new crane from Brendan Docks and show it around the island. When Edward arrived at the docks, he was astounded by what stood before him. The new crane was waiting for him on the sidings, and he was enormous. He was very tall and very long, with glistening red paint and yellow linings. Edward had never seen a crane this big before. He was most impressed, as was Percy.
Flatten my funnel. He's the biggest crane I've ever seen. I bet he's even strong enough to lift someone as fat as you, Golden.
Huh! It doesn't matter to me. I rarely have any accidents.
Really? So you ran into a ditch, through a station wall, and into a barn on purpose?
Oh, the indignity.
Hey, does the new crane look sad to you, Edward?
You're right, Percy. Let's see what's the matter. Hello there. I'm Edward.
And I'm Percy.
Huh? Hey there. I'm Rocky.
We saw you looked upset, Rocky. Is something wrong?
Nah, I'm fine. Just nervous about my new job, I guess. I wanted to go better than my last job. At my last railway, barely anyone wanted to use me because I was just newfangled nonsense.
What's a newfangled nuisance?
Newfangled nonsense. It's a load of rubbish saying that something isn't useful just because it's new.
Tell that to my old home. I was new and in the way, they all said.
I have the opposite problem. People say I'm old and in the way, but I don't care. I've proved my usefulness over and over again. And with time, I know you will too.
That made Rocky feel a little better. Soon, Edward was coupled up to Rocky. At first, Edward struggled to start. Rocky was very heavy. But before long, the two new friends were well on their way out of the docks. On their way, they passed a lot of other engines. They were surprised to see Rocky too. But Edward didn't notice. He was thinking about how to make Rocky feel really useful. Later, Edward was taking Rocky back to a station at Wellsworth when he saw Bill and Ben racing through the junction with a load of pipes.
Hurry up, Bill! If you were going any slower, you'd be going backwards. Oh yeah? Well, maybe you should push harder, Ben. So far, you're nothing but dead weight.
Steam and pistons? Who were those two?
A pair of cheeky twins who are headed for trouble if they carry on like that.
Little did Edward know how right he really was. But he and Rocky found out soon enough, for when they puffed up the line, they were welcomed by a terrible mess. Some pipes had fallen out of one of Bill and Ben's trucks and crashed onto the track, and poor Gordon ran into the pipes and came off the rails. He felt very sore. Luckily, their drivers and firemen were all safe and unharmed, but Bill and Ben were arguing about who was to blame.
Nice going, Ben. I told you to push, but not that hard. Me? You were the one dragging me along, Mr. Express Engine. Next time, I'm taking the front. Excuse me, Professor, but I don't remember...
Do I need to say it? When was my life reduced to this?
Alright, that's enough. Bill, Ben, the only reason this happened was because you two are racing through like a pair of maniacs. Am I right?
Yes, Edward. Sorry, Edward.
Thank you, Edward. Now, would you be so kind as to help me out of this mess?
It would be an honor, Gordon. After all, like you said, you rarely ever have accidents.
Oh, I so need to keep my big mouth shut.
Well, Rocky, I think it's time to prove your usefulness.
Rocky was delighted.
I'm ready and willing, Edward.
Before anything else was done, Bill and Ben shunted their trucks into the yard, and their drivers warned the signalman to halt all incoming trains. Then Edward pushed Rocky into position, and the mighty cranes set to work. Slowly but surely, he swung his mighty arm over the pipes. Gordon was a little intimidated as he watched the mighty crane arm loom over him. But they all watched in amazement as Rocky lifted all the pipes high into the air and gently left them on the side of the line right next to the loaded truck of broken wagon bits. Next, it was Gordon's turn.
Please be gentle.
Okay, easy, easy. Gently now. Almost there. And...
With the rescue successfully complete, everybody cheered.
Whew! I love it when a plan comes together.
Well, look at that. Looks like the newfangled nonsense saved the day just like I knew he would.
Indeed. I cannot thank you enough, Rocky, my dear Crane.
Oh, shucks. I couldn't have done it without you, Edward.
You were totally wicked, Rocky. Yeah, we're sure lucky you were here. Especially since Bill opened the door to disaster. Oh, please. Your boiler's full of sludge. This is all your fault.
Some days I wonder if it's worth getting up in the morning.
I've heard better testimony from Steve.
Welcome to the Northwestern Railway, Rocky.
Since that day, Rocky has become an important part of the line, rescuing engines, trucks, and coaches whenever Harvey or the breakdown train are unavailable. He is friends with everyone he meets, but Edward is his most special friend of all, and he's happy to call Edward's station his home. And what about Bill and Ben? Well, let's just say that when Sir Topham had found them, both twins wish he hadn't. When Edward had finished, Joey looked amused.
Well, all I can say is that is certainly better than James's version.
They looked at the station to find out that James was gone.
He must have left while we were talking.
Hopefully, he learned a lesson about experimental storytelling.
Well, it's certainly been fun learning this. I wish I could stay some more, but I have a train to catch.
It's alright. Safe travels.
Edward and Rocky said goodbye to the enthusiast as he was heading back to the mainland. Three months later, Edward and Rocky were resting in the yard after a good day's work when Edward's driver walked up to them looking excited.
Wake up, you two! I got a surprise for you!
A surprise for us? How wonderful!
What's the surprise?
Well, remember Joey, the young man asking about you two?
Yes. Why?
Edward's driver picked up his phone with a comic cover of Edward and Rocky on it. It was a story titled New Crane on the Line. Both Edward and Rocky were surprised.
What is this?
Why, it's a comic. They're like books with pictures. Looks like our new friend wanted to make sure people could hear the true story. Very impressive.
Yes, indeed. Do you think we'll ever see him again?
Maybe someday. You never know.
Both Engine and Crane look up into the blue sky thinking of their new friend Joey, hoping that one day he will return to Sodor to write some more stories about their adventures. I'm pretty sure he will, don't you?